Hi everyone. I can see from all the comments I've been having that you all really want to see this calculator I've created so you can send out a form to your clients and they fill it out and in seconds they get a quote emailed back to them or a price range. So I'm going to go through and run through this now with you. Just as a forewarning, this is my second time actually creating this form. So I'm going to be a bit slow. I'm going to be a little janky with it. I do apologize, but I'll run through it as concisely as I can. So getting into that, I'll make myself smaller and I'll show you what this looks like. The tool I created, let's just give you an overview of what that looks like first. So you can actually, at my website, I've got this thing that sends you to an instant quote, blah, blah, blah. Here's an example video. Second, you fill out this form. So what happens is that they fill out the form, enter in their details. They put it, these are the factors down here that'll actually change the quote that gets sent to them. So length of video, script writing, like basic services included, extras, location, and then just little terms and conditions. Basically, what's happening in this form here is that I've done some weird little maths so that if they click on a 30-second or a 1-minute video, in the back end, the system registers it as a half day shoot versus a 2 to 3 minute, it'll recognize it as a full day shoot. And going on from there, that half day and full day will actually affect certain services. So filming is affected as a half day or full day shoot because videographers I hire will charge me a correspondingly half day or full day, no in betweens, no short or smallers usually. So that made that pretty easy. And then the same thing happens as well for makeup artists. They do half day and full days. Other things, though, require different varying degrees. So script writing is charged on usually on a per minute basis. So I actually made it that every time you did 1, 2, or 3, it would make the script writing go 1, 2, or 3 times as much. And then same thing with editing. It has a very similar principle. And then others in here were very simple maths, such as doing a 30-second recut. That usually costs the same amount no matter the project. So that's just you click on that and it will only add a single amount. It doesn't change based on other variables. But what's cool about this form is that you can actually make answers up here and down below affect what happens to here. So I won't show you the numbers here as well in case my clients are watching, but I will go through how to create one of these for yourselves. And so I'm just going to do one that's more of an in-depth editing quote. So how to create a form so that you get an instant quote range as an editor. The first and foremost thing when you're building these forms is actually before you go and build the form, they're very like technically weird. Like it takes a little bit of work to get it to work right. So I found it's actually better to plan ahead how you're actually going to charge and what's going to change the variables, getting a clear understanding. Because if you go to edit these and then you need to change something up in the middle, sometimes it'll like say nope, and you actually got to delete half the document and start again. Trying to experiment in Zoho Forms is what this tool's called to create these dynamic quotes is not a good idea. And I think that's the same with a lot of other forms. So you're best off actually in starting with a spreadsheet. And I'm just using Google Drive here, which is a free spreadsheeting tool. And what I first do is I go through the different steps that are involved in an editing process. One of the first steps I always put is it's review the footage. And then another step after that is I'll put down is organizing best takes, determining the structure. Because in my process of editing, what I do is while I'm reviewing the footage, I'm writing down key beats and key elements that I'm finding in the files. And then when I have this little list of basically like key beats, is I'll start going, oh, this beat can go after this beat, can go after this beat, and that's going to create a really good story. So that's usually how I operate. So you can change this to however you would do. This is why I'm saying you should do the spreadsheeting first, is you should figure out your process, write it down, and how that's going to affect your time. Now that I've done this, review footage, determine beats for editing, and then after that, I'll put in it's rough cut, review with client, fine cut. And then maybe there's a color grade and, I'll put it in here. Color grade, sound pass. And this could be every single optional extra you have. And you might actually have these as options they can choose to opt out of as well. So that's why it's good to break them down into separate steps. Review with client, color grade, sound pass. And what's else after that? Fine cut. Fine cut's a nice one. And if there's anything else, you might do some optional extras down here as well that are like obviously optional extras. So you could do things like closed captions. There might be an extra service you can just offer. That's the other great thing about these forms is that maybe in the discussion you forget to mention, hey, I can offer to do the subtitling for you as well. And by just having in the form as an easy click for them to go, yeah, I would like that as well. So there's closed captions. Is there anything else that I can think of? Yeah, I think this is a good start. I won't get too in depth into it because otherwise we'll be here forever. So moving on from that, the next thing we got to work on is actually understanding how these change based on variables. So I'm going to drag these down and go, so what are the variables for editing? There's amount of footage filmed, because this is affected by when I'm reviewing the footage. And when the client's going to send this proposal, I might say, what's the total duration of footage filmed that you're sending to me? And this can affect things as well. And then there's final duration of video. So they might say we want a 1 minute video or 3 minute video. We know that having a longer video means that a 1 minute video versus a 2 minute video is usually twice as much to color grade, or it's not really. Sometimes you just copy and paste the color grading across. So the sound pass is always twice as much. I keep things simple and I'm just going to say the color grading is twice as much because it could be. You can add things here like motion graphics and stuff, but I don't think that's really necessary. I'm just here to talk about video editing in itself. And that can always just be an optional extra you add. But I think these are the two major factors that affect everything. Okay, cool. Now we have a few ways we can think about this. We can either think about doing this as where we put time beside things. So you could say 1 hour. Oops. Or you might instead, can't spell for terribleness today. Or you might, instead of saying 1 hour, you could say your hourly rate. So in this case, I'm just going to do $100. Our time is worth $100 an hour. I'm just going to put this up here. 100 hour. Great. So now what we want to do is we want to start using algebra and stuff and start realizing how these are all going to connect and relate to each other. So amount of footage filmed, I'm just going to call this A. And final duration of video, I'm just going to call this B. So that way, when we start saying how these relate down here, we know how it's going to work. So starting off first one's easy. Review the footage. We know that this isn't affected by the duration of the video that we're going to be doing, but it is affected by the amount of footage filmed. Exactly, it's a 1-to-1 ratio, or maybe it's a 1.1-to-1 ratio. What I would put here is 1.1 times A, which basically means if every hour of footage they give me, I'm going to charge $110 because it's 1.1, or I'll show you that. So if there's a 1 hour of footage here, and I'm just going to make this go like this, equals this times 1.1. I'm just going to put this over here. So now I'm actually just putting here a dynamic hourly rate when I'm just writing this up so I can show you first. What we can see is that the amount of footage filmed was 1 hour. Maybe if they say it's 2 hours, well, we go, okay, that's $220 just to review the footage. Easy enough. You can see how that everything's going to start to interact together. And if maybe the hourly rate becomes 75, you can see how it's all starting to interact differently. So we've got the amount of footage filmed is 1 hour. Final duration of the video is, let's just say it's going to be, drawing this in like that. And let's just say final duration of video is going to be 1 minute. So we're just gonna be careful now working in hours and minutes. Things might get mathematically weird, but we'll play along and see how this goes. And so determining the beats for editing. So this is usually affected by the final duration of video. Basically, I'm just trying to find enough beats to create the whole video. So roughly speaking, if I'm finding the beats, determining the beats for editing a video, I'm going to say it's going to take me roughly about, well, it takes me about 20 minutes per final minute of video. If it's a simple commercial video that, and I'm just going to assume that this is for commercial videos. So I'm just going to say that 20 minutes is a third of an hour. So we're going to go equals 1 divide 3 times hourly. So there you go. So we're saying this. And if they say they want 3 minutes, now it's going to cost them $100 just for the planning of the edit. And maybe sometimes it might go, you know what, it actually takes me, instead of it taking me 20 minutes to do a planning for the edit, it takes me half an hour per final minute of video, in which case I'll put 2, in which case I get that. So we'll go with that for now. Organizing the best takes. Again, so this is just going, this might have been even a part of the review of the footage. So we might just close them up here and go review footage / organizing best takes. And then we might just increase this rate up a little bit. Next up is the rough cut. So with the rough cut, this is really just affected by the final duration of the video, in my opinion, because we've already reviewed and organized the best takes and we've done our sorting now. So for the rough cut, let's just say a rough cut's going to take me 2 hours per final minute of video. So again, equals final amount of footage filmed times 2 times hourly rate. Review with client. Let's just say that it's always, no matter the length of the video, whatever it is, it's always going to be half an hour to do the review. That's a half-hour rate there. Color grade. Color grading it's again based on the final duration of the video. I'm just going to say it's 1 hour per final minute. And the reason why I've put 1 here, even though it's obviously going to be mathematically the same if we get rid of 1, is that it's just there for reference. If we just realize that maybe it only takes us half an hour per final minute or so forth. Anyway. Sound pass. Now I think I'm not good at sound, so I'm going to say it's going to take me 2 hours. Equals 2 times a final duration of thing times hourly rate. Now what's great about this is as we start doing it, is you can start realizing things. So as a client gives you lots of footage, but then a low video, the rates will change. And well, actually, let's just do a sum here. Equals. So as they start really figuring it out all for you, this also rewards, because the worst thing about I found when you're editing for people is that they don't have organized footage or they don't film with the clear vision for the edit. But usually the shorter the footage gets, the more clearer they are on the vision for the edit. There is that as well. So going on from that, let's just say fine cut is, you know what? Fine cut's always a flat rate of $200 because it's just reviewing changes. Optional extras is like you can do closed captions. And let's just say, hey, you're going to be greedy. We all know it costs $2 a minute or $1.50 US a minute for closed captions, but you're going to charge $10 per closed minute. So now this optional extra is 10 times final duration of video. Whoops. I think if you just change that to $1, there you go. That works that way. Okay, cool. So we've got our formula here and you can see how it's working. So reviewing footage is basically A times 0.5 times hourly rate. So let's start building this now. So we've figured out basically, I'm hoping this is giving you a clear idea about the mindset of understanding what you're going to quote for a package is breaking everything down into its individual items so that when you can give them the dynamic inputs, the document can update itself. I hope this isn't confusing. I hope I'm doing an okay job explaining this right now. This is my second time doing it. So again, a bit wish-washy about it. All right. So moving on from that, we're going to actually move into Zoho Forms. So we can't, because we're starting to get an idea of how things are interacting with each other. We'll now move into Zoho Forms and actually creating your quick quote form. What we do here is if you get Zoho, it's like a tool. If you don't know what it is, it's a CRM tool. So what this allows you to do is, I don't know if I'm allowed to show you this. Oh, that's fine. It allows you to, it's just got a bunch of business management tools on here. So you can actually, when it decides to work, it's not deciding to work on me, but if you look down here below the mouse, you can see there's all these different like tools and apps you'd expect to have for a business. It's nice because it's all under the one program, like the Adobe Creative Cloud suite. So they all interact with each other really well. So when I create these forms, I've got a customer list. It auto populates them in the customer list and sets off this chain reaction of reminders to myself saying, hey, this customer like did a quick quote form. You should give them a call, see if they're actually interested. So that's what Zoho is. And then the tool we're using is Forms. If you want to learn more about Zoho, there's a YouTube channel called Relevate. I do recommend checking it out. Maybe I might add a link below or something. They're spelled Relevate. I'm not getting paid to promote that or anything. I am mates with the person who has that channel. He's an awesome guy and he really does help. That's how I've learned about building these tools is through him. And yeah, if you want to build awesome back-end automation tools for your business, that's the channel to look at, which is what this is right now as well. This is a back-end automation tool. So let's get into the actual meat of the bones. 21 minutes into this video, I apologize, where we actually create this quick quote form. So now we're just going to call this editing quick quote form description for clients to fill out so they are emailed a quick quote. Cool. So this is the form builder. It's all pretty standard. So first thing always is you want to have the customer put down their name, their phone, and their email. So if they do fill this out, you can contact them later. I'm gonna move my face over here. So I actually like personally, I have a website as a qualifier for my video production company, but I don't think it's really that relevant to us here. Just going to move my face a bit smaller. It keeps getting in the way. So I'll get rid of that. All right. But I usually put the customer details here. And then they've got another little section in here called section, which is good. So now I can change this to your video project details. And now this is where the client can fill in things that will then affect the entire document. Going back, the factors that really did affect the document was the amount of footage they filmed and final duration of video. What I will do in here is is it checkbox? No, it's not checkbox. Well, actually checkbox could be an option, but I'm going to try doing it with this one here. So in this one here, we're going to put desired final duration video. And the instructions, please write the final duration we want your video. There we go, unit. So putting in a thing here will let them see that. This is for minutes. Cool. So now that we've put in the minutes here, I'll show you what that looks like because you can't actually test this form here. But if you go here, it's got these things here. So you can put in 10 minutes or 60 minutes if you want that as your final video. So that's working well. Going on from here, we should actually do another one of these and put this back up the top, or just to edit this one. How much footage was roughly filmed? Please enter the total duration of raw footage we'll be sending to me. Roughly guess if unsure. Something like that. And again, this is going to be a numerical thing. You might do minutes, or you might put in here hours if that's more comfortable for your clients, because say, oh, I roughly got half an hour or a full hour. That usually works as well. So now that we have these factors going on in here, we can start getting a bit complicated with the numbers. Right now, we've got all these little steps. So review the footage, organizing by best takes. So we might we'll start getting into some of the formulas here. So we're going to do a formula down the bottom, and we're just going to call this formula how much footage was roughly filmed. And then if we go back here, we got reviewing the footage, organizing best takes is amount of footage filmed times 1.5 times hourly. We might do times 1.5. And then, so we know our hourly rate's $100, but we might work on this a little bit, because what if we want to change our hourly rate because we're getting more popular, because our forms are filling out so crazily? So one of the things you can actually do here, I'll just show this, is you can create another number drop down here, and we can call this our hourly rate. And you can also hide this field. So whenever we put our hourly as $100. So what's going to happen with this? Oops, I don't think I put that right. You put in the initial value. That's just the instructions. That's not going to matter to the calculations. The initial value matters to the calculation. And then we can put dollars, and we can make that a prefix just so it's easy for us to recognize. So if I actually access this form again, when you share it with the clients, as you can see, the hourly is supposed to go here. You're not going to actually see it there. And great. So how much footage was filmed? 1 hour. You can see the formula is showing $150. So that would actually equate to this, because if we did 1 hour there, $150. So we know that's correct. But one of the things we did say we're going to change, just going back in here, you can change one of these formulas you've already done by just clicking on it, and then you go edit in the formula box here, and we can change this 100 to our hourly, and then hit save. Great. Now that I've done that, we can also do that again with the minutes. So desired final duration of video, and we could go into our spreadsheet here, and we can go, let's just take one of these others. I'm going to skip all this because otherwise I'm going to probably bore the hell out of you guys. But if we have a look at this right now, let's just say sound pass. Let's do the sound pass formula here. Oh, one thing I should do is I should rename this first one up here. So this is review formula. So we've got review formula. Now, if we're going to go down here, let's do another advanced field, do another formula. And we're going to call, this is the desired final duration times 2 times hourly rate, 2 times final duration times hourly done. And then we can call this formula sound pass. Great. So now I'm going to skip all this, but you have to pretty much do this for each one. You got to create a formula for each single thing you're doing, and that gets really annoying really fast. So what I'm going to suggest you do is I'm just going to pretend we've done them, but we've just done a review formula and a sound pass formula. So now we've done that, we need to create a total cost formula. So basically it's review formula plus sound plus formula plus all the other formulas you have to create. You just got to add them all together. And what you get is you get the total cost formula. Now, if you're a freelancer, maybe you're happy with that. But since I run a business, I actually do another formula called profit formula, which is just total cost formula times the average profit your business runs through with projects you run. So if you run a business at 30% profit, you'd put 1.3. If it's 50% profit, you'd put 1.5, etc. So if you run a business, or if you're a freelancer who likes running with profit margins and you can charge that extra amount, you can do a profit formula on top. The reason why I do a profit formula on top is because that sometimes you have rough half year, rough quarter, good quarters, and that profit can go up or down depending on where you're at. So I like actually having that as its own little formula, because I can change this based on my circumstances. If I'm getting a little more desperate for work, I'll bring my profit formula down so my system starts sending out lower bids. And if I'm getting flat out with work, I can increase the profit formula so that I'm getting less work but more money, which is always great. And so that's all pretty much there. If we go to access this form now, let's have a quick look at it. So let's say there's roughly 2 hours of footage and they want a 3-minute video edit out of the whole 2 hours, then it's going to cost them $13.50. And they're going to, well, that's so much for a 3-minute video for editing. But you could say basically, look, every time you bring me more footage, it's going to cost you more. So if you say, if you can halve the amount of footage you bring me, I can charge you this much instead. That's always a nice way to go about doing things as well. Just keep that one there in mind. If you like, that's one of the great things about these spreadsheets is you can actually work a lot quicker and easier with clients in negotiating. It doesn't just have to be like, can you do it for less? It could be like, if you bring me less workload, I can. That's what I really like about having these spreadsheets. But going back into here, you don't want one of the things I don't like showing my clients is an itemized bill, because things interact with each other dynamically. They might say, oh, what's this review cost happening here? Can you get rid of that? So no, because this review makes me edit way faster down the line. So if you get rid of this review cost, my price actually goes up. So I don't like actually showing any of these to the clients when they're filling out the form. And so to do that, you can just go into settings here and hide field. And you just have to do that for every single one of them. Hopefully you're not getting bored out of your mind listening to me right now, but this is a pretty useful tool. And even the profit formula will hide that. But actually we'll keep this one open for now, because while we're like testing and reviewing this spreadsheet, this form, it's good to be able to have them open, because it's the only way to see what's actually happening. Are these getting affected by certain things? Going on from there, I don't like having these forms just send out a single price. Like, we can do it for this price, because it's too let's go, and I feel like it makes the form too sure of itself. There's always these little unknown variables it's good to talk about with your client before you actually get into the gig. And because they might do things that make your life easier, or they might do things that makes your life harder, and the form will not account for that. So that's why I like to add a little bit of variability in here. So again, we're going to create 2 more formulas. We're going to create this profit times, actually, I wonder if we can just can we do minus 10%? No, we can't. So I'm just going to do whatever minus 10% would be, which would be times 0.9. I don't know if that's actually right. I think it is. And this is going to be we're going to call this the low range offer. Low range offer. And then again, I'm just going to duplicate this, and we're going to rename this one to the high range offer. But instead of it saying times 0.9, as in taking 10% away from the profit, we're going to make it times 1.1, which is basically going to add 10% from what we've initially quoted. So now when we hit save, let's have a look at this spreadsheet, this form now. And again, let's say they put in 3 hours of footage or 1 hour footage, and they want a 3-minute video by the end. This is what I would initially spit out, but again, that's it. So instead, what I wanted to do is I wanted to send an email saying, hey, we think that this video edit's going to cost somewhere between $1,000 to $1,250. And to me, if I got a quote like that, and that was in my price range, I'd be very keen and interested to continue the conversation. So great. That's what we've just done there. Now we've created this low range offer and high range offer. So moving on from that. So now we've created this, we actually need to create some rules. This form's not just going to email it to them with these stats. We actually got to create the email template. And so to do that, you got to go from this form builder to the settings. And this is where I'm going to start stuffing up, because it's the second time I've done it and I'm forgetting things. It's actually in rules. It's not in settings. So you go form rules, and because field rules is a different thing, but form rules, you go here, you go configure now, and you go, if email is not empty, it's going to then send an email. And what you want to do is you have to set up like an email system in Zoho for this to work, but you can go here you can actually choose that email field. So what they're saying is whatever email they put in that email field, it's going to send it to this email. Subject, your video editing quote range is here. That's great. So then I'll usually do some nice formatting, add logo, hi, and then you can go hi name. So you can actually just by going hi, and there's a little button here, and you click hi first name. And so that's going to actually put their first name down. Your instant quote range is ready. And then down here, and then maybe I might just make it a little bit bigger. Sometimes it's weird with this, whatever. Anyway, the instant quote range. So we wave, and then you can say to edit your video, we believe cost between. Now, most people's fun little fact I found is if you always tell people the high range first, they're usually much more happy about the whole conversation, because if someone finds that both prices are too expensive, when you tell them the low range, then the high range, they go from disappointed to really disappointed. But if you tell them the highest first, they go, here's the highest price range, and then the lower one's a relief. So they come out emotionally better. So I've always found actually saying the high range, although people will call you out for it all the time. So then we go here, and then we go low range offer. And then maybe I might just make this bold because that's the whole point of this email, you know? So we got this. Let's just line it to the left again. And then you might just do blah blahs about, hope it was helpful. Maybe you might include a few links. Link 1, book a call to discuss project. Link 2, maybe if you're too expensive for someone, you can always say, here's a not ready / do it yourself guide link. So you take them to some YouTube tutorials just so that you're being nice and you show them tutorials and workflows. They might go, this is far too much work. I'd rather just pay the guy that big amount of money I wasn't ready to. That's always an option as well. Now that when you hit done, there you go. So now whenever they fill out, make sure the email's filled out, it will send them an email based on their formula, based on our formula we've just created there. So that is pretty cool. So now we've got ourselves an email rule builder. That's pretty much it. Actually, I'll go into other great things about this, but first I want to say this is it. That's all you got to like really learn how to do is fill out the form, build out these review formulas. Now, I do say be careful with these review formulas because once you put them in, you can't really, sometimes you can't move them around. Although it's letting me move this around. So I've just really messed up this entire form now. Never mind. Sometimes when you're building these out, if you have too many formulas and too many of these, they'll stop allowing you to actually move these columns up and down. So just bear that in mind. That's why I do recommend you always start with a spreadsheet and understand how everything's going to interact, then build out the form. All right. And before I forget, I actually forgot to add one more thing to this form, which is basically adding like optional ticks for your form so that your clients can say yes or no to the extras you want to do. So this could include things from sound passes to closed captions, all that sort of stuff. So I'm just going to go back into here. So this is the form we've created so far after I've probably messed up something. Just move some things back around. Speed this up. Cool. So this is all making sense right now. So one of the things we've got to do is like, let's just take a look back at our sound pass. This is a good one to look at. So for the sound pass, we've got that formula, but we might actually say that the that it's an optional extra. Some clients only want you to just, do the editing for the rough cut or the overlay, and they're going to do all the sound pass. So if that's the case, what you'll actually want to do is, even though we have like a sound pass formula here, we should add a checkbox. So this will look like a decision box is what they call it. And we add it above the sound pass formula here just to keep things organized. And what we'll do is we'll call this, would you like a sound pass? And I know this is a bit weird. I maybe not actually would do this, but I'm just doing it for an example for now. And Simply put, they can just check this box or uncheck this box. And it is what it's going to do is when they click on it, the sound pass formula will apply. But to do that, we've got to tell the sound pass formula to apply this checkbox. So to do that, we click into it, click on formula, go advanced. So when all of the conditions are met, which is, would you like a sound pass formula checkbox is true, perform this function. Otherwise, the expression is 0. And then when we hit save, it's done. So what I might even do now is I'm just going to unhide the sound pass formula so we can see how this kind of all interacts with each other. So now when you go actually to access your form, you go over here, how much footage was roughly filmed, 3 hours, desired final video durations, 1 minute. You can see here, sound pass formula is adding $200. If we make this 2, it becomes, whoops, I did it again. 3, 1, that's 2. You can see here that is $400. But if they untick it, it makes it $0. So then it doesn't apply the sound pass formula to the client, and which affects the low range and high range offers down the bottom here. So just keep that in mind that if you want to have optional add-ons and stuff, then you need to add a checkbox and go to the advanced. In the formula, you need to click on the advanced and create a rule to make the conditions meet. So that's how that one works there. So that's how you do the optional check on extras and give your customers the choice of adding things or not adding things. So from that, you now know how to create formulas that are affected by durations of footage or final duration of the completed project or what's given to you, and also what services they want you to perform on top of this footage given to you, which is really the basics of editing. So I hope that was helpful. Until next time. Now, and then after that, you then actually can build out the rule and form rules to send the email. And then finally, this is what I did as well for my website, is I integrated it into my website. So you just go integrations. No, you don't. You go share, you go embed, iframe, you copy the iframe, and now you have yourself a perfect form to share to put on your website or share with clients. If you want to hit share, you can just go over to share again, actually, sorry. And then you can use this permanent shortened URL, and you can always send that to a client to fill out the form. The other thing I found useful is that sometimes it's a bit dismissive to just send a form to a client when they're really ready to go. So I will actually use the form myself for the client when I'm on the phone, because when they're talking, I go, do you know roughly how much footage there is? And they go, oh, like 3 hours. I'll enter that in the form. And after that, I'll go, great. Would you like me to read out the quote, or would you like to get it both sent to us via email so that we can get the quote at the same time and then discuss how we feel about it, because the system's generating it for us. So again, I really apologize for how boring and dead I sound. It's the end of the week for me. I've been smashing out different systems for my company at the moment, so I'm quite brain dead, but there's been a lot of buzz around this tool. So I thought I'd share it, because there really wasn't any YouTube tutorials or anything on like how to build this with like professional systems. Those were some cheap, janky softwares that just do this, but having it integrate with actual business software makes a really big difference for future implementations. Actually, I'll show you something. It's down here in my bin. Oh, I just thought of this on the spot. This is in my little paper bin. This is what I started with. See, I've scrumpled it up out of anger. This is like all the maths that I was trying to figure out before I broke it down into that, just because there was no tutorials and no one could actually explain how to do this. So I hope you do appreciate it. There was a lot of work. If this is really boring, maybe I might just redo it again, but I hope this allows some other creators out there charge what they're worth and charge with confidence. And because sometimes we get nervous about pricing, and having a machine tell us what we're worth might be the best option. All right. Thanks, everybody. This is Orson Lord. I run a video production company called Mediable. I hope you found this useful, and yeah, have a good one.